What's going on, everyone? I am extremely excited today because we have some new cards to talk about. I know we were talking about a lot of the PQs and everything going on, and I'm sure we'll have more videos about that because it is an important topic in the community now. But new cards, including one new card that is actually going in a direction that I've been waiting for since the start of the game. I've tried to build around this strategy, and we'll just dive into it in just a moment. Big thank you to my patrons over on Patreon. Been chatting, talking about the PQs. Thank you for your support. And also I have a TCG play link in the description down below. Be sure to use it for any of your Star Wars Unlimited card needs. Let's dive into the first card, guys. And that is Padme Amadala. Now, this one's a pretty interesting one. We got a 2-cost ground unit in Cunning Heroism. 1/4 stat line, so overall 5 stat points. Pretty reasonable. Not amazing, but it's like okay. Maybe it's a little bit below okay. It's like below average in terms of stat line. You got the Naboo, Republic, and Official tag. So having the Republic and Official tag tends to be pretty important. She has Coordinate on attack, give it enemy -3/-0 for this phase. So kind of a weird combination of things going on. First off, 2-cost ground unit with a 1/4 stat line. Not that great, okay? It's a little bit below average. Really unexciting. 2/3s are already pretty unexciting. They're okay. But I'm not really looking to put 2/3 stat line in my deck for the most part. The fact that this is a 1/4 is even worse. If it was a 2/4, I would be like, okay, now we're talking. And 3/3 is really where I want to be on a 2-cost ground unit. So not anything about that is very unexciting, very weak. The on attack trigger is what needs to make this an actually powerful card. That alongside her being a Republic unit or an Official unit, maybe some combination of that is what's going to make this playable. To be honest, the Republic decks don't look like they want this type of card because most of the Republic-based decks that I've been seeing have been pretty either hyper aggressive, where you're playing like Ahsokatano Coordinate, trying to dump a bunch of units on the battlefield and get in for some damage. And this just does not fit in that. It's too expensive, too much toughness compared to how much power you're getting. Just not actually an aggressive card. Or you're going a little bit more big and trying to get to the late game. And in that case, this doesn't really do much either because you are forced to put a bunch of units down to get that on attack trigger. And then on attack, you're not actually getting any use out of this. Like, yes, I suppose you attack with Padme Amadala, you get that -3/-0. Suddenly that unit can be jumped on by a bunch of other mini units because it's for this phase, not just for this attack. But I think that's a lot of setup for a pretty weak scenario. Because remember, you must first play Padme. She must be not exhausted. You then must get 2 other units on the battlefield, and then your opponent needs to not have attacked with the unit that you want to attack in order to actually get value out of this. This just seems like a lot of setup for not a lot of gain. I could see it potentially being okay if the Republic synergies matter a lot. Outside of that, not a huge fan of Padme Amadala. On another note, here's a card that is absolutely an exciting 2-resource play. 2-resource ground unit, command villainy, Pogle the Lesser. Once again, we have a 1/4 stat line. As I said, pretty unexciting, below average. It needs to do something powerful, right? It's got the Separatist and Official tag, both of which are pretty important. And Officials are even more important because of things like Double Green Palpatine, Emperor's Royal Guard caring about Officials. Guess what? When you play another unit, you may exhaust this unit. If you do, create a Battle Droid token. This fits absolutely perfectly in the Double Green Palpatine shell. If I'm just immediately thinking about the decks that it will fit in. You play this on turn 1. Yes, it's not like a Yularen or anything like that, which has 2 power, but it most likely will survive because it's got 4 power. People already play Piet, and this is way better than Piet on average. You play this on turn 1. Turn 2, you play your Emperor's Royal Guard. Suddenly you got a big Sentinel, and you get to exhaust Pogle the Lesser to create a Battle Droid token. So now Emperor's Royal Guard comes with a 1/1 alongside it. And remember, these 1/1s are already pretty solid just by kind of getting in for random damage or doing something random with that. But also with Palpatine, you can defeat them to deal 1 damage to something and draw a card. This, to me, fits absolutely perfectly in Double Green Palpatine. I think I would immediately drop in at least 2 of, potentially even 3 of, completely replacing any sort of Piets that I might have been playing in that deck. Poggle is in that spot. Outside of that, We still have the options of potentially playing it in a separatist exploit deck where you're playing a bunch of units, you're exhausting Pogle, you're getting battle droid tokens, you're able to exploit things like that, or maybe just going wide and creating a bunch of battle droid tokens and attacking in. I think that's less likely. To me, it fits more in a ramp style, high value, sentinel based, potentially that, or exploit strategy. Outside of that, maybe get some value. Maybe you can go wide with Pogle, but I'm actually pretty excited about this one. Again, very different from Padme because you don't need like 2 other units on the battlefield at any time to trigger. The separatist and official tags are more important in the aspects that Pogle's in. And on top of that, you don't even need to attack with this guy to do good stuff. So way more excited about Pogle the Lesser than I am Padme. Another note, we have Morgan Elspeth as another card here. 4-cost ground unit in Vigilance, Villainy, 3/6 Force Imperial Official. Restore 1. On attack, you may defeat another friendly unit. If you do, draw a card. So 4-cost, 3/6 ground unit with the Force Imperial Official tags is decent. I am not super excited about the 3 power aspect of this card because having a 4-cost unit with 3 power really limits the amount of things that it can do to control the board. We've seen 4/6s in like Sugi. We've seen 4/5s in Kanan. That stat line seems to be way more powerful than a 3/6. However, it has some other stuff attached to her, like the Force tag, like the Imperial tag, like the Official tag. It also has Restore 1, and you kind of have like an Emperor Palpatine type ability with the on attack, defeating another friendly unit and drawing a card. This, however, doesn't really seem to fit in any specific scenario. It might be that you're like, oh, I create a bunch of battle droid tokens, I attack with her, I get some restore, I defeat a battle droid token, I get to draw a card. I'm just not really seeing where this card is going to fit in terms of a deck now. I don't see an immediate choice for it. Again, exploit might be a deck that it fits in because you get to defeat some of the other random fodder that you're sitting around or that has been sitting around. You get to draw some extra cards. But then in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, if I'm defeating my exploit fodder, then I don't have good exploit cards to play. And then if I'm drawing into them, then I won't have the exploit fodder that I need to play those cards. So it just kind of seems like it doesn't really fit. But we'll have to see. The Force tag, she does come down early, which can be relevant. She does have Restore 1, and she has a lot of toughness. I just really wish it was a 4/6. If this was a 4/6, I could see a lot more spots for her, just kind of as a value piece. But right now, 3/6, a little bit too weak on the power aspect to really do some major work. Next up, we got Admiral Trench. This is a 7-resource ground unit in Command Villainy. We have a 5/5 Separatist Official. With Exploit 1, when played, return up to 3 units that were defeated this phase from your discard pile to your hand. So, seemingly a interesting option for exploit decks, where you could be exploiting other units out that got you value when they're defeated. I'm thinking like, let's say you're playing an exploit deck and you got your battle droid tokens, but then you're playing like Cobb Vanth, Super Laser Technician, and stuff like that in your deck. Not that Super Laser Technician would work because it doesn't go to your discard pile, but like Cobb Vanth, where he'll sacrifice it or you'll defeat it and you get to get a 2-resource play. Maybe you're trading off with something and then you get to return that unit as well. I could see some value in Admiral Trench. Here's the problem with it though. In an exploit deck, which is what this is trying to kind of reinforce, I don't think you're going to actually be defeating units all that often that are going to be placed in your discard pile. Heck, I just mentioned Super Laser Technician. I think that's one of the cards that is actually going to be pretty good in this deck. It's going to help you ramp. It's an easy unit to kind of defeat just to get some ramp going. You don't really care about it. It's going to essentially kind of give you 3 resources over that turn. Okay, doesn't go to the discard pile. Your battle droid tokens don't go to your discard pile. You're not going to be returning a bunch of units on that single turn. It's not like you're defeating normal units that go to your discard pile with exploit. So not really a card that I think is going to see a lot of play. I see some situations for it, but to me, it looks like it's supposed to be for an exploit deck, and yet it doesn't really fit the theme of an exploit deck. Next up, we got Ahsokatano, guys. I am very excited about this one. We've got 3-cost ground unit in Cunning Heroism, 3/4 Force Jedi Republic. While you control fewer units than an opponent, this unit gains ambush. This seems ridiculously strong, like ridiculously strong. I am very, very excited about Ahsokatano. It is a legendary, and it's rightfully so. So 3-cost ground unit in Cunning Heroism, 3/4 stat line is extremely, extremely on rate. This is something that's pretty much played across the board. Fighters for Freedom, you have Ezra Bridger, like all these things. This is like a common stat line, okay? Nothing like crazy exciting, just a good stat line. The Force tag and Jedi tag, this is some of the earliest Force units that we've had, similar to Yoda. That can be extremely relevant if you pair it with aggression and you decide to go like Sabine Yellow, for example. Suddenly you can get access to Force Throw because you have a Force unit pretty reliably on the board. Has the Republic tag, which is going to be relevant for any Republic synergies. Has the Jedi tag, as I mentioned, for any Jedi synergy. So really, really relevant tags. But then we have this ability to ambush when we control fewer units than an opponent. Now, remember, you can't just have them play like a Battlefield Marine on turn 1 or turn 2, and then you play an Ahsokatano and you get to ambush, right? Because it includes this unit. So if you have a unit and they have a unit, that's 1, right? Ahsoka counts as 1. They have a Battlefield Marine. You can't ambush. But if they go, let's say, turn 1 play Battlefield Marine, turn 2 play Fleet Lieutenant, and you didn't play a unit on turn 1, let's say, well, suddenly you can go Ahsokatano and ambush something, which could be relevant, right? So there is a good chance that this will be able to ambush, especially if you're in a situation where your opponent's going wide and you need to deal with clone trooper tokens, battle droid tokens. I think this card's going to get a lot better. We also have a secondary ability where it's pay 2 to return this unit and each upgrade on her to their owner's hands. I don't think this is going to be all that relevant of an ability. In some situations, if your opponent's like really desperate, they put like an entrenched on it or a frozen in carbonite or something like that, then maybe. If you put some upgrades on it and they went ahead and entrenched it or whatever, maybe. Or maybe you just attacked with it and you want to return it to your hand and then ambush it with it again. Maybe something like that could happen. I don't think that secondary ability is all that powerful, but just a 3 resource 3/4 with potential for ambush with having relevant abilities. I am very excited about this card. Again, I actually think the most important part about this card is the traits. The Force, Jedi, and Republic tags coming down early with a good stat line and having relevant abilities is important, and that's what we're really looking for going forward. Next up, we've got Jar Binks. Oh my gosh. I want to say they did a great job with this card. I just don't think it's very powerful. So 2-cost ground unit in double cunning, 2/3 Gungan. What a crazy art for him, by the way. One of the craziest arts I've seen. On attack, deal 2 damage to a random unit or base. So let's just think about how this would work in a normal game. You play Jar Binks on turn 1. You got a 2/3. Turn 2, you attack. Okay, there's 2 bases to hit. And let's say your opponent had played a unit on turn 1. There's 2 units to hit. So you have a 50-50 shot of hitting an opponent's unit or base. That's just a 50-50 shot of dealing 2 damage to your own base in some situations. Like, this card could just straight up lose you a game, right? Let's say you go in and you're like, oh, I need to just potentially trade with this unit. And you attack a unit and let's say it's like a crafty smuggler, right? And you're like, okay, maybe I can kill the crafty smuggler with this attack. Boom, I hit Jar Jar. Suddenly I kill my own Jar Jar. That's pretty bad. Okay, I hit my own base. That's pretty bad. Oh, I hit crafty smuggler. Suddenly I get to kill crafty smuggler and keep Jar Jar alive. Okay, that's pretty good. I hit your opponent's base. Oh, I got your radiator shield. It's 2/1 now. That dealt 2 damage to a base. Okay, that's okay. But that chance, that flip chance of just absolutely decimating yourself, I think is going to be a little bit too risky. Again, it is literally just a straight up 50-50. And if you do care about that 2 damage to your opponent's base and you're looking for that mode, or you're looking to be a little bit more aggressive, suddenly you would rather just play a higher statted unit with a more relevant ability, generally speaking, on turn 1, because we have more options than that. So I don't think this card's being any close to playable, but maybe some people will just have some fun with it because it is a silly card, really fun looking, and well, they did it right. They did it right with Jar Jar. But last up, we've got the card I was talking about at the beginning of the video. Brand new legendary, 4-cost ground unit in Vigilance, Heroism in Satine Cries, 0/6 Mandalorian official. So it is a Mandalorian card. Each unit, including enemy units, gains action, discard cards from an opponent's deck equal to half this unit's remaining HP rounded up. Rounded up. That is really fun. Really fun. I've been waiting for some sort of mill deck. I tried it with the Spectre synergy. Like, I tried to play Hera with Chopper, Kanan, and all that type of stuff, and try to go in, like, discard your opponent's cards from their deck and go that direction, like with Vigilance and things like that. But it just doesn't really function right now. This is a card that could potentially do it on its own, right? Of course, exhausting Satine itself goes ahead and discards 4 cards from an opponent's deck. It's going to be really tough to get rid of all 50. I mean, you start off the game, you draw 6. By the time Satine comes down, that would have been 3 turns later. That's another 6 cards, right? So you're already 38 cards in an opponent's deck. Just baseline by the time you get Satine down. If you're milling, let's say 2 to 3 to 4 when she comes down because you have other units that can discard cards, suddenly you're like almost halfway there. That's pretty far still, but these are the type of cards that I'm really excited about because they could spawn some unique archetypes. I don't think this card's good enough in the current iteration of the game to actually function. I'm just thinking, like, let's say I play Rey. Rey is the immediate list that I thought of because you can also give some experience tokens to Satine, but also because she typically has high butt units, like high toughness units, with the ability to pump them further. So like turn 1, you go R2D2 and you give an experience token as a 2/5, right? Usually people don't deal with that. Turn 2, you play something, you maybe give another experience to R2. Suddenly you have like these big butt units, so you can like an restored arc. Turn 3, you play Satine and you get to mill them for like 4 with R2, and you get to mill them with a little bit more with a space unit or whatever. I could see something there with Rey. I just don't know if it's quite good enough. It's a really exciting card, and I do think it's cool to see these types of cards be printed. I just don't know if we have the support for it right now, but that's the whole point of these cards, is the more cards we get of this type, the more chances we have to actually build a deck around it. And I will be building a deck around Satine. Don't underestimate me, guys. I will play it all. And we'll be trying to play Satine on the channel, so stay tuned for that. I'm very excited about that, but I don't think it's actually a good card. So that's going to be all of the cards I have today. Padme and Satine being the brand new ones. Of course, a bunch of new ones that happened over the weekend. Hopefully you all enjoyed. I'm really excited about Pogle. I am really, really, really excited about Ahsokatano. I am excited to figure out what I could do with that Force, Jedi, and Republic tags. Jar Jar, pretty silly card. Are you going to try to make this work? Satine, are you going to be going for the mill decks? Let me know in the comment section down below. Thanks for watching, everyone, and I'll see you all for the next one.